Hi everyone, and welcome to the channel. My name is Infantry Pulse, and today we're continuing our top 5 video series with the Flyer class. So we've done all of the infantry units already, so I decided it's time to branch out a little bit and do a different movement type. So today we're covering the classic weapon triangle for the Flyer movement class. So that's lances, swords, axes, that classic little triangle you see on the back of every Fire Emblem game. Basically an advanced game of rock, paper, scissors, right? So these are melee physical units. There are quite a lot of them. I didn't feel like breaking them up into separate lance, sword, and axe videos, though, would really be the correct answer, especially when it comes to sword flyers. Doing a top 5 video of those makes it feel like there are units that would be included there that I wouldn't actually recommend using. And so I wanted to combine these to kind of condense them. There are just fewer of these units compared to the other movement, the infantry movement type. So we are gonna combine them and condense them a little bit more. So with all that being said, let's get into our very first unit.
I need to see things for myself to truly understand them. I can't let my beliefs be shaped by the opinions of others.
So coming in at number 5 is Jill. So Jill is a very, very strong Gale Forcer, and actually I had her much higher on this list before I built all these units and looked at the builds and thought about Gale Force strategies just a little bit more. But what's really great about her is that Jill, when initiating combat, gets +6 attack and speed, but she also gets a built-in dive bomb effect. So dive bomb allows her to make her follow-up attack before an opponent can counterattack. So she's a very, very strong user of the Gale Force ability because she also has slaying in her weapon. She's one of the best in the game at Gale Force, actually, if I'm being totally honest. The problem with Jill is that she gets shut down by anything that has follow-up denial. So if she can't get that follow-up off from an opponent, something like Wary Fighter or Duma's effect or any of those other effects on units that prevent follow-up attacks, it becomes much, much harder to Gale Force a team. That said, though, she's still one of the best Gale Force units in the game, has a great stat spread for it, and really good at being a follow-up unit to something like Air Force or Lin Force or whatever you want to do to get your Gale Force team off the ground and into the opponent backline. Definitely a strong unit, and definitely one that can work well even at low merges, for sure.
All I must do is fight in a manner befitting the way of the sword.
Next up, and a unit I never thought would appear on a top 5 list, is Legendary Ryoma. So Legendary Ryoma got 2 consecutive buffs recently that suddenly made him go from 0 to hero. So Legendary Ryoma has a very, very strong weapon in the form of Raijinto. Raijinto has built-in distant counter, it has null follow-up, and it has extra stats. So all of those things combined make him a very, very, very strong unit. Very, very hard to deal with. I've shown an arena build here, so with our dual flying, he can still counterattack from range, which is really great because he doesn't have to use his A slot for distant counter. He gives his allies the Legendary Blessing, so that's really great as well. Bushido also has a very strong buff in the form of it nullifies flyer weakness, and it gives the dodge effect, so the speed-based damage reduction. He's just a really strong unit, and again, I never thought he would be here. The thing that really holds him back from being top tier is the fact that he's a water legendary, and being a water legendary is very competitive because you have to go against the likes of Dimitri, you have to go against legendary Chrom, you have to go against legendary Leaf, and even Legendary Azura is there competing for a spot. So those are all really great units. Water is by far the best season. So I guess they felt like they had to boost up Ryoma's viability in order to compete with the other water legendaries. That said, he still has a very hard time competing. Will do very, very well, though, in a lot of game modes, especially on water seasons. He will do exceptionally well in Aether Raid's defense and offense as well. So he's a little bit awkward because he really wants to be used on Aether Raid's offense. That's really what his kit lends itself to. Unfortunately, he's a legendary hero, which means he's only going to be able to be used every 2-3 weeks and then for a month in a row during the consecutive water season. But definitely a very strong unit, and again, a surprise that all of a sudden he is one of the best flying melee units.
Pegasus Knights must fight as a team. That requires cooperation.
Next, we have Duo Pala. Well, really Trio Pala, right? So you've got your Pala, your Est, your Catria here. They're really strong because they kind of nullify the weakness that Jill had earlier, right? So Jill has the weakness of follow-up denial, and Pala has this strength where she can get a guaranteed follow-up, but also can become a brave weapon in the right circumstances. She also has the duo effect of giving her and her friends Odd Tempest, or not Odd Tempest, but like the Tempest movement buff, right? So an extra 1 space, and it can be refreshable. I don't know that that's particularly, the refreshable part is particularly effective on something like Aether Raid's offense, but it is super useful in the fact that she is a duo unit, being able to enable duo's hindrance on defense if that's something that is useful to you. And if the opponent doesn't have, you know, a hindrance or a duo unit, then it just becomes that much easier, right, to engage an enemy in combat. So she has a really good stat spread overall. So with her attack, you can see it gets all the way up to 74 at this max investment, which is really ridiculous. Gonna make a really easy heavy blade check for you. And then just the value, just to speak generally on it, the value of Gale Force has gone up so much with turn 1 engages being so popular. So Gale Force is really the counter strategy to turn 1 engages, and Pala is a unit that does the Gale Force strategy very, very well, and definitely something that should be feared. Again, even at low merges, a lot of these Gale Force units don't need max invest like you see here. Even at +1 or maybe even +0, they can get the job done a lot of the time.
I do like rabbits. You can find them no matter how far you roam. They're delicious.
In the number 2 spot, we have Spring Fur. Now, I'm sure a lot of people will think that I've overestimated her or put her unusually high, but I really think that Null Follow-Up is one of the best abilities in the game, and Null Follow-Up is built into Bun Bun Baton, and I just love saying that, so I'm gonna say it again. So Bun Bun Baton is a great weapon. It has Null Follow-Up built into it, and it has Slaying, and those two things combined make her a really good Gale Force unit, especially with Wind Sweep. So with Wind Sweep and Gale Force, she has a very, very easy time getting her Gale Force proc off. So this is something that is probably not the best in the world for like a Wings of Mercy type setup, but definitely can help you get in there and start off a chain, or, you know, just be smited up and be really great at Gale Force herself. Just a very, very powerful unit, and again, I think Null Follow-Up is one of the best effects in the game, and that's why Fur is so high on this list. You could make an argument for a lot of the other units being higher, but I think that Null Follow-Up, especially Null Follow-Up Wind Sweep, is very, very valuable. And again, just a really strong Gale Force unit that has a pretty easy time popping her Gale Force off. Now we're going to get into some honorable mentions. So first up on our honorable mentions is Ashnard, Fallen Ashnard. So Ashnard is a really great unit because he has kind of an AoE debuff on attack and defense for the opponent, and also has built-in eye-out shield, so he's not actually weak to arrows. So that makes him a really good tank. So here you see a Wyvern Flight build. So you might think like, Ashnard's slow, how can you use Wyvern Flight? Well, Wyvern Flight's speed differential is very, very generous. So assuming that Ashnard has +6 speed from something like a Link buff or whatever else, Tactics buff, whatever else you can give him to get that +6 speed onto him, he has 39 speed with this build. And then he will get the 10 differential on Wyvern Flight. So if the opponent, and again, Wyvern Flight is based on visible speed, not in combat speed. So things like Swift Sparrow and all that jazz, they don't count towards a Wyvern Flight check. So the Wyvern Flight check will go all the way up to 49 visible speed. So if a unit has 50, they need 50 visible speed to cancel Wyvern Flight's effect. There are not many units on Aether Raid's offense, or Aether Raid's defense rather, that run 50 visible speed or more. I mean, those units do exist for sure, but they're way, way, way less common. So I think Wyvern Flight build is really good. Guard is also a great option for him. I have a noontime setup built in here, assuming Brave Lucina is supporting him behind. You could also run Soul instead to make him a little bit more independent, or you could keep the noontime, whatever your playstyle is better with. But overall, just a very, very strong tank for sure. Really, really great stats, and you know, readily available also. So that's a boon for free-to-play players for sure. Next up, we have Dancing Eldigan. So Dancing Eldigan is one of the best meta units right now. And the reason why he's such a great meta unit is because he has availability of Wagasa, which is a chill defense spear. He has super high defense and he has super high HP. So those three things combined mean that he can dodge isolation more often than not from things like a Milla, and oftentimes also a Bridal Fjorm. So he is very good at not being isolated and actually being able to be a dancer. So with those two things considered, he is just one of the best meta dancers for Aether Raid's defense right now. He doesn't really see a lot of great play outside of that game mode, but within Aether Raid's defense, he is a very, very strong meta-defining unit. And finally, we have Young Sheeta. So Young Sheeta is a great Vantage unit. So she has effective damage against a whole range of weapons. So she has effective damage against armor, against bows, colorless bows specifically. Want to be clear because that's a weird loophole. Colorless bows, and then the classic weapon triangles. So she has spears, lances, swords, axes. She has effective damage against all of those, and gets Vantage against all of those units she's effective against. Plus, she has built-in regular Vantage, just the HP check Vantage. So all those things combined, meaning that she is attacking first quite a bit of the time. So that's really great. I think the thing that holds her back is being a flyer and not having access to something like Null Sea Disrupt or Special Spiral. Those are the two things that really hold her back from being a great Vantage unit, but still a super, super deadly unit with all that effective damage in all those different places. She can be a really scary unit to deal with, and something that can hard check some teams. So definitely a super spooky unit, but one that does have some form of counterplay, especially in the form of colored bows, which is like a weird loophole that IS put in for some reason. Yeah, Legendary Crom is her greatest enemy and her greatest fear for sure. But yeah, still a super strong Vantage nuke for sure. And just a unit that is, again, a lot of these flyers are just good at one-off. Ashnard you probably want merges on. You probably want a couple merges on your Eldigan to make sure his defense is high. But a lot of these Vantage Gale Force units, they operate super, super well, even at +1 or +0.
Flying through the sky on a Pegasus makes you feel like you're on top of the world!
And finally, my pick for number 1 best flying classic weapon triangle unit, that's a mouthful, is Young Tana. So Young Tana came to us on one of our very recent banners, and she has kind of like an Omega aerobatics kind of effect. So she can move to any space within 2 spaces of any ally that's within 2 spaces of her. It's a very confusing way of saying she can teleport around the map very, very easily. So she doesn't really need something like Wings of Mercy. She comes with Speed Defense Near Trace by default, and that's actually a surprisingly good skill on her, because after she procs Gale Force, or after she even just attacks, and even if she misses the Gale Force check, she can retreat using the teleportation on her lance. So she doesn't need to move just like 1 space back or whatever. She can teleport in, attack, teleport back to where she was, get danced from a very safe range, and then go back in. So she doesn't really need a Wings of Mercy dancer or anything like that to set her up. She's a very, very good unit to like dodge in and out of teams in that way, and keeping Speed Defense Near Trace is a really good idea on her in my opinion. Definitely a really easy unit to set up. Doesn't require Wings of Mercy or anything like that. So she can get in and zip around a team really, really easily. And for that, I think that she is one of the best Gale Force, maybe the best. I don't know about the best. I'll say one of the best still. She's one of the best Gale Force units in the game, and definitely a threat to face on Aether Raid's offense. So that is the video, everyone. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Make sure to give the video a like if you enjoyed the content. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Also, in the description below, there's a link to our Discord channel. So the Discord is a great community where we all help each other out with things like Aether Raids, Arena, all that kind of stuff. But we also stream a lot there. That's actually where I stream my Aether Raids offense plays. So if you're hungry for more Infantry Pulse content, make sure to go and join the Discord with the link below. With all that being said, make sure to come back tomorrow for another flying unit video, top 5 video, and until then, I'll see you guys later. Bye!